the full wife interview from the Smash Doc. So, trying to make sure my stuff is live. Come on, buddy. Alright, I'm going full screen.
I will probably stop you.
Actually, let me turn up the audio some. Last time I noticed the audio wasn't as loud as it probably should have been. If it's too loud, just let me know.
Not too long because this is a very small cassette. And then I'll just pop out another one.
Cool, and I'll look at you.
Yes, don't even bother looking at the camera.
Got it.
So, I guess we can start in the beginning. What's your real name?
My real name is Chris Fabizak.
And what's your handle?
My handle is wife. WIFE, wife.
Nice. And if you would, can you go back in time to the beginning of when you first picked up this game called Smash Bros?
Sure. I first picked up the game when it came out, obviously, as I hope most people did. I was there waiting in line, and I guess it would have been Best Buy, and brought it back and played all the challenges, one by one, event mode. Fell in love instantly. It was brilliant. It was even better than 64, which I also played all the time with my friends. It was fantastic, and I've been playing it for a couple of years when we found out about tournaments, that they hosted tournaments for the game. And I think that I was interested, although I didn't really take it seriously. I didn't think that it was a serious thing, which is one of the reasons why my handle is wife, because I didn't think that it would be the name by which I would be known all over the world. I didn't know that more people would know me as wife than as Chris. Let me say that again for you, because I looked at the camera. That's my bad. I didn't know that more people would know me as wife than as Chris. I thought it was just it was a one-time thing. It was for fun. It was silly. And we went to Live or Die. It was our first tournament. It was a crap show, honestly. It was crowded and it was smelly, and I did really, really, really poorly, and it was frustrating. But that was it. It was just like turning on a light. That I wanted to be a part of it, and I wanted to compete. And then we went to Go, and that was when I developed the handle wife, and I was still excited about it, but still didn't take it seriously. And I thought it was a flash in the pan kind of thing. And we went to Game Over, we went to Go, and it was grand. It was a lot of fun, but again, silly. I certainly wouldn't have thought that it would ever been something that I would take so seriously, which I did. Not only was it silly, but everyone told us that it was ending. I remember speaking with Jaytanic, Don't Panic, and he was telling us it was bad timing that we came to this one, because this was the last one. This is the last big showdown. I'm going to find out whether Ken or Asin is better. We're going to find out what team is going to place on top, and then everyone's going to go home. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, lights out. And so we thought that's what it would be. And then now, over 10 years later, I identify very closely with wife, and it was a huge part of everything that I did.
Nice. And you got that. It wasn't just something out of a vacuum. You just plucked that name out. There was a counterpart to your wife.
There's a counterpart to my wife, a husband, of course, which has been very difficult over the years. I can't tell you how many times I've had to explain to someone that I'm not gay. I'm not in a gay relationship. It's just a thing. It was at the time with the Newlyweds. It was a TV show with Nick and Jessica, and that was part of it. But also, Peach wears a white wedding dress, and she looks like a bride, and so it was silly. And the night before Game Over, or maybe it was a week before, we had drawn on Photoshop these images of wife and wife see Peach and wife are synonymous for me. That's the trouble there. Of Peach and Marth together, as the couple, as newlyweds, and it was Dr. Mario was doing the ceremony and like that. And people knew us when we got to Game Over. They knew who we were before we got there, and that's my very first taste of what an alias was, and how the internet could make you a sort of pseudo-celebrity and what that was like. And by the time I left Game Over, wife was permanent. I had no choice. I signed up on Smashboards. My tag was wife, and that was it. And if I could go back and change it, I probably would. I would be something cool like Dark Rain. But as it is, I'm wife, and I identify with it. As weird as it is, I identify with it. And when I hear the word wife, the term wife, I get surprised. Like if I'm reading it at work, so-and-so wife, I think, why are they talking about me? And it takes me a second to realize that wife means something besides a Peach player from the East Coast. Yeah.
And when you were started playing, like when did you? I guess you and husband went to Game Over. Did you have high hopes of like being able to perform well? But you obviously knew about Ozin and Isaiah. And all
I did. I played Ozin when I went to Live or Die, and he did me with Ganondorf, which was my character at the time, and totally embarrassed me. And that was the reason I wanted to get into it, is because it was remarkable how much better these people were at me. And I'm a very competitive person, and it spoke to that. And it was very important. We went to Game Over, little known fact, husband and I, the newlyweds, entered teams. We did not enter singles. Oro entered singles. It was decided that he was going to be the singles guy, we were going to be the doubles people, and that's how we were going to go on. And I don't think that we expected to do well. I do remember husband, if anyone who knows him knows what a stubborn, thick-headed person he is, and he was at Live or Die, and he would not believe that there were people at this video game who were so much better than us because we were awesome. But we were trash, just trash compared to these people, and that was very exciting for us. And I think we did get a taste of how much better people could be, but we didn't do too bad. But I can tell you that once I realized where I was on the spectrum of this game, how far down I was, that the training started right away. There was no gradual ascension into what I was doing. Once I learned what an L cancel was, I wanted to train right away. I can remember sitting alone by myself in my dorm room with Ganondorf and level 1 computer, short hop, down air, L cancel over and over again. I would force myself to L cancel 50 times in a row without missing it. And then it would be, dash dancer or whatever it was. And it was a lot of just training and getting better. And I had a notebook where I made notes and I would watch videos. It was very serious for me. And it was a very conscious, specific, directed effort at becoming better. And I knew that I wanted to be top 10 from the start. That wasn't something I realized after fooling around or joining the community. I think, as people also may know, it wasn't about the community for me. Community didn't mean as much to me. It did mean a lot to me, and I have met some incredible people, but it always will be the game itself that was so important to me. It's a beautiful game. I see it as a symphony. It's a piece of artwork. It's perfect. It is a perfect game, and playing that and learning it and expressing myself through the game was always the most important thing. Not the journey and what else was there. Even though I did enjoy that, it was always important that I place well, that I learn the game, that I do better. That was always important to me.
I do want to talk more about that, specifically about the idea that the game is beautiful, because that is something that I think people might not necessarily appreciate. Like, there's a reason you played that game, played Smash, and not a game like Street Fighter. And was that a function of, like, when you describe it, why did you play Smash and not Street Fighter, or what is it about the game itself?
Well, I can't tell you why I played it from the first part. Actually, you know what? I can, because it was 4-player. It's not common enough that a game is 4-player, and that's why I played 64, and that's why I played Melee, because playing with my friends, playing with husband, Kevin, and Ben, of Team Ben, and his little brother in Ben's basement, that was what it was. It was fun. It was 4 people, and that was all there was to it. But learning more and more about the game, you realize how complex it is. And if I were to identify one difference between Melee and every other game I've ever played, is adaptability and the fact that you can do whatever you want to with your character. Okay, there aren't set combos, there aren't a list that somebody somewhere decided what you can do. You can do whatever you want to with your character. You decide how far he runs and how high he jumps and what he looks like. What else can you compare it to where a person, you compare it to sports, you compare it to basketball or football, where a person is in control of every movement of their body. And while the video game is just a series of zeros and ones, everybody looks different. I can watch a video of a Marth, I can tell you whether it's Ken or Neo or Azen or husband because it looks like Neo. Either way, you can see the style in a person's character, and that to me is incredible. And you can also see the decades. I mean, if you watch a tape of football from 20 years ago, you can tell people are doing different things. The game evolves. You can see that with Melee, how the game evolves. There's just it goes so deep, and there's so much flexibility with your character. You can have your character do a dance or drink a cup of tea if you want to. It feels that way because you have so much control. You're not choosing between left, right, up, down, A. Someone else hasn't decided that for you. You decided, which also means that there's no limit to it. There's no limit to the style and the types of combos you can do. And the videos that I see, even though I don't play very much these days, if you go online and watch videos, you can see that the things are different. And it's unbelievable that at once upon a time, I was an authority on the game, absolutely. So I would commentate, and I would know everything about all the players and what was happening. And now I don't. And not only do I not know who's playing all the time, I can watch a video, and after playing it for 10 years, I can say, I don't understand what I just watched. I don't know how that worked. I didn't think that combo worked, right? I couldn't even, I doubt my competency as a commentator because I don't know that I understand everything that's going on. It's too fast. It's too subtle. It's a lot of subtlety to the game, which is a big part of it.
Yeah, yeah. And I love the points that you bring up, too, because in terms of the openness, there are no set combos, like you say. Like maybe once or like Marth's little up-down thing where he does this little... But that's like the only tiny little thing. It's much more about the openness of it. Did the early aspects of the game, I guess when you first started getting into it, the East Coast West Coast rivalries, or I guess just like even crew battle rivalries, was that kind of like a big driver for you between regional kind of rivalry, I guess?
It was a huge driver. It was absolutely a huge driver. Not in the very, very beginning. That Game Over, I didn't really care. Like a lot of people did between the Ken and Azin thing. That wasn't really interesting to me. But absolutely, and it was being so confident that East Coast was better. It wasn't so much about who's going to reign supreme at this tournament. It was, where can we find an outlet to demonstrate how superior we are than West Coast in every way? And I think that we were. And I think a big reason for that is that we were geographically more dense. There were just more people. In the same ways that ideas reach the coasts and then go into the middle of America or any body of land, it was like that. And everyone lived so close together. Different types of people, so people are sharing ideas. That's bound to happen.
Okay. Now my thingies popped out. Pause right there.
Oh, good for us.
Can you understand me well enough?
Yes, excellent.
Okay.
Perfect.
This certainly won't be offended. I again was an actor for a time. I know that sometimes if I'm stuttering or if I'm slurring my words.
You are by far the most authoritative speaker I've had.
Okay.
The way you speak and the content of your speech.
Well, I don't want to disappoint, so please feel free to adjust me if I can.
I would change nothing about what you're saying.
Okay. All right. Well, let me know if that changes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So, So the like kind of the regional rivalries, I guess. Were you on Smashboards at this time?
Oh yeah, I was heavily on Smashboards. Smashboards was everything. It was everything. And I'm sort of ashamed, sort of proud to admit how I would say that I was good at Smashboards, but also obsessed by it, known by it. I can remember being on Smashboards in the morning and talking some trash, and then going to the library on my way to class when I was in college to check to see if anyone had read it yet. Because it was so important to prove yourself. And things were tough. The way they are now, and even the past several years ago. And to me now means these 3 years that we're in right now, because it's a different era. Everyone's nice to each other and they're forgiving, but back when I started, the only way to earn respect was to be good. And if you weren't good, you were trash. You were not important, and you were to be treated that way. And as I got better, and one by one, I started beating names, even names at a time. I needed to establish myself, so I would get on, and I would flout those victories, and I would insult people who were below me, because that's what you did, and it was okay. And now it's not. Now if I get on there and tell someone that, if they want to say, oh, wife, I think your point's wrong, I'm like, well, I never heard your name before, so go suck a dick. That I'm a bad guy. But back in the day, that was what you did to prove yourself, and it was different. So yes, I was on Smashboards very heavily, and I probably argued mostly within the East Coast. I mean, I had a lot of rivalries with I think Chillin and I went back and forth. Wes and I went back and forth. It was things like that. It was a big Team Ben DA rivalry for sure. And that was the beauty of the West Coast versus East Coast rivalries, because we had such tension, but when it came time for crew battles, we're all on the same team. And of all the, what were those New York tournaments called? All Smash for Cashes, where DA would be screaming at me and just being awful and hating them. And then it was East Coast versus West Coast, and we get to see the pretty boys from California just getting donked all over by Wes and by DA Dave, saying just this great stuff and just completely breaking their will. And I was like, well, this is what I've grown up in, Ken. I mean, you know, or whatever else from the West Coast. This is how we do it on the East Coast. It's not easy. Not only do you have to play, but you have to deal with all the pressure of not being good enough or being heckled while you play. It makes you a stronger person. And I think that's something that some of the community is missing nowadays, is not enough pressure to do well, because the competition has always been important to me.
Yeah. So you would say that that pressure cooker that gets created by, specifically like maybe some of DA Wes's trash talk is notorious for, that was a good thing in your mind.
It was an excellent thing. It was an excellent thing, because it pushed us to be better, but it also pushed us to find a piece of yourselves. You know, Fight Club, when they're asked to start fights and how difficult it is to actually start a fight, how much can you know about yourself you've never been in a fight? How much can you know about yourself you never had a nemesis? Okay, I didn't have a nemesis before Ken, but I'll be damned if he wasn't my nemesis, and I'll be damned if he wasn't the person, less so Chillin versus Ken, but you're a person who's your opposite, who you need to go against, someone who really wants to see you fall. That's exciting. It brings out a piece in you, and yes, it was. I loved to see it. It took people out of a comfort zone, which I think was important, and especially gamers who aren't getting in fights at bars, but it was an outlet to find a place to prove yourself, and you could do that with your controller and, with your presence and standing up to someone. It was great.
Now, you actually got into commentating. How early on was it clear that you had a natural talent for that?
Only at MLG. And commentary did not exist before MLG in any facet that I would deem noteworthy. But when MLG started doing commentary, it was very few people that wanted to do it. Again, unlike now, unfortunately, they just pass the mic around to anyone who's wandering by. I think that's very regrettable, if you ask me. But at MLG, it was M3D, JV3X3, and me and OmniGamer. Pretty much those are the only people that did it. And I realized that I enjoyed commentating because I like talking. I like talking about myself. I like talking about Melee. I like personifying the game. I like talking about the characters behind the game. It's not enough to know who's playing, but where do they come from? What are their temperaments? What are they like in between matches? It's fascinating. And commentating, to me, is interesting, and I do appreciate that people have said that I've done a good job, but I've always thought that I wasn't able to realize my potential as a commentator because there was no time. And it took me a long time to be good at Melee, as it takes a person a long time to do anything worth value. But by the time that MLG was exterminated, and there was no more really strong commentary, and people have done it, and I appreciate that, but it's never been quite right. I don't think the degree of professionalism was there to really just to bring out the potential of commentary like sports commentators are. I think that pro wrestling, like WWE, has good commentary. I think it's interesting. I'm a different type of commentary, one that should be tried out, but you have your good guy and your bad guy. Someone who's going to sit there and sympathize with all the dirty chicks, and someone who's going to actually give the real play-by-play, and you have a color commentator. And I often was the color commentator, besides, say, OmniGamer or M3D, who had the facts, and I'd say, well, I just saw the person who's playing, look at their friend and talk some trash to them. Let's hate them. Nothing wrong with a little bit of hate, in my opinion. I think that fueled it, and I think that we never really saw where commentary could go.
Yeah. Well, it's great that you did get to do that, because you were right in the hot seat too when you saw a lot of these amazing matches. Which watching them again, I can't help get excited by your commentary.
Sure,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
One of the ones that came to mind for me was, and we're kind of hopping all over in terms of the history here, but the New York opener, where PC Chris was fought Ken. So could you set the stage for that? Like, what was it that was leading up to this, and why was this such a big deal when it did kind of come down?
When PC Chris beat Ken, it was a big deal for a couple of reasons, but I think the most prominent reason why it was a big deal, why it was a showdown, is their personality differences. Ken is a villain. Ken is a villain. I have to say that with certainty. And I respect him. You can respect a villain, but he was a villain. He was a good person to hate. He was a dick. I mean, he was rude and he was selfish, and he was good enough to make a valid villain, someone who really does have the power to be worthy to go up against, but someone who was nasty. I mean, he could be pretty rude, to be honest. And he was hateable. And PC Chris was the most laid-back person I've met within the pro spectrum. Okay, he's the kind of person who really didn't care that much whether he won or lost. You didn't see him throw his controller when he won, or you didn't see PC Chris throw his controller when he lost, and he didn't boast when he won. He was just there to hang out. But he happened to have this innate skill, and I think that Ken worked very hard at the game, which I respect just as much. But PC Chris had the natural ability. So what saying goes that PC Chris didn't own a GameCube. I guess that's true. I don't know. Just played with his friends. And so PC Chris was, laid-back Falco with his combos that even someone with terrible tech skill like myself could pull off. He said, that could be my Falco. I can do that. There was no really fancy stuff. He was just smart. And his style combated Ken's perfectly. And also because I think no one saw it coming. I wasn't ready for it when it happened, and as the matches ticked by, it was this feeling that when anyone wins a match against Ken, you kind of say, okay, well, this is just one match of a set of 5, it doesn't matter, and very slowly you realize that history is in the making, and history was made at that New York opener when PC Chris beat Ken, absolutely.
How much was the crowd getting into a factor, do you think, having the East Coast trash talk getting at his back, because he didn't have any allies there, really.
That's true. That's true. I don't think it bothered Ken. Ken is a competitor, which I think is an important distinction among Smashers, and one that I've always preferred the competitor to the non-competitor. For all the talent that you see other people who might have, or the talent that Mango has, or Mewtwo King, I much prefer to watch someone who's a competitor, your Chudats, your Ken, someone who KDJ, someone who will try to the last, which is why Chudat is one of my favorite players of all time, even though I've spent much of my life hating him, and even though he wasn't the best, but he will try to the end. He does not give up. He can be down in a set, and he keeps playing, and he keeps playing, and he keeps playing. He doesn't give up halfway through, and that's Ken. Ken wasn't someone who just stumbled upon the skill. Ken was someone who wanted to win, and he was that kind of person. I think I'm that way as well, just not as successful as Ken. But yeah, he concentrated, and I think that I don't think the crowd bothered him because he was thinking about what he was doing. He wasn't messing with his chi, he didn't have a chi. He worked very hard, and I think that one of the most impressive things I've seen in my time of Melee is when PC Chris was beat. PC Chris beat Ken, and Ken said, okay. He didn't let it get in his head. He didn't, it wasn't a 2-year mind block like we've seen with Mewtwo King. No offense, Mewtwo King. But he took exactly one tournament's time, the 6 weeks between MLGs, and he said, okay. What about a counter? Because I can only imagine what he said to himself. Or we practiced with whomever he practiced with, his brother or whatever. And he came back to Dallas and positively embarrassed PC Chris. And PC Chris didn't go home and practice. He wasn't watching Ken's videos and wondering how to exploit his weaknesses. But you can bet Ken did. You can bet he watched that match and realized what PC Chris did and exploited his weaknesses. And he came in and he just countered over and over and over again and positively threw PC Chris flat on his face. And it was brilliant to see. Even though I prefer PC Chris as a person and a teammate, I enjoy seeing Ken, the viciousness come out. And he did, and reigned him superior. And then when MLG Anaheim came out, the third tournament, they had a really, really great showdown. And I was there, and the cameras were there, and we did a lot of shouting and screaming for PC Chris. And when Ken won in the 5th match, it was pretty incredible. They hosted him up on their shoulders, and even though PC lost, it was still a great tournament experience. I went to MLG Anaheim with actually my girlfriend at the time and her friend, 2 people who knew nothing about the game, but we were there, the front row of the bleachers, cheering, and it was one of the few times when Melee has really felt like a real sport, because it was accessible to those who didn't know a lot about it. You didn't need to know all the technical terms, but it was a competition, it was a spectator sport, and that's when I really believed that Smash was going somewhere, that it was going to be big and important and mainstream, before it all crashed and burned.
Yes, yeah. And I'd love to. That was a great summary of the next two, the Anaheim and Dallas and then Anaheim. Takes back to Dallas really quick, because at the conclusion of New York, there's PC is crowned. How would you say that defeating Ken, PC's defeat of Ken, kind of changed things? I guess in terms of maybe a new generation of Smasher that PC represented.
When I was playing everything that I had seen from being there, the concept of generations wasn't there to me. I wasn't thinking about it. So PC Chris's victory over Ken, I think, was the first time I thought about there could be a generation of players, and then I'd go on to see many generations of players, or at least a few to several. PC Chris was the first of the young kids. They were all young, and they were different than Ken and Az and Isaiah, or even myself and husband. They were a different breed. PC Chris paved the way for Korean DJ and Music King, and then the Mangoes later. You know, in that time, it showed us that Ken could be beat. It showed us that a different style of play was important, and I think that it absolutely opened a door.
Nice. What? It was kind of out of left field, the whole counter thing at Dallas. Like, you knew like the drawbacks of the traditional drawbacks, and there was a moment when you're commentating and you're like, "It's all right, guys. He knows what he's doing." But was that like totally out of left field seeing that, or?
Yeah. Well, what I remember thinking is that Ken was playing with him. I don't know how true that is, but the counter thing that you do rarely, but he just kept doing it. And Ken is he's smart, and he's really good. I mean, if you can outsmart PC Chris, you're smart. Let's be honest, and he was using the counter. It was the best way to exploit. It may have been a matter of exploiting PC Chris's aggressiveness, or I don't know. It's too long ago for me to say that with assertion. But I can say that in a counter, spotlights to everyone watching. I'm more comfortable in this matchup. I am better than you, and I will do the move that really, both literally and figuratively turns what you're doing around, and just spun PC Chris around, and I don't think he was able to recover from it. It was excellent. It was very much an exciting. It was a sports event when PC Chris did that, or when Ken did that to PC Chris. I'm not sure there is an equivalent to that in sports, because what's happening now in mainstream sports, we know about the things that are going on. We follow people as they train, and we've got mics in people's helmets and ridiculous things like that. There's less mystery there. But I don't think anyone thought that Ken was going to do that. There's lots of surprises. That reminds me of when Armada pulled out Young Link. I don't know that anyone knew that was going to happen. And when Caveman pulled out Young Link many, many years ago, the surprises are exciting. I don't know that happens in mainstream sports.
Yeah. It is interesting, too. I mean, it's like there's a lot of mystery there, and maybe that's because the internet wasn't played on the internet or something, so you wouldn't be able to see all this stuff, and regional things would come up. Or like Ken's just malevolent brilliance.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick to Anaheim, that was an intense match.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like? Because you had seen and commentated those last two where it was PC and then it was ridiculous comeback by Ken. What kind of, was that like a pressure cooker, especially having now was on the West Coast?
Sure, absolutely. Well, at Anaheim, I was a spectator, which is very different than being a commentator. You've got absolutely no reason not to be biased, even though I was pretty biased as a commentator as well. But I was there as a spectator, front row of the bleachers, and there's cameras, and there's lights, and a stage, and absolutely the energy was there. The energy was absolutely there in that match. Although if I'm being truthful, what I was thinking about during that match was I was a spectator to my spectatorship. I was thinking how cool it was that people were watching us, and how cool it was that it was exciting. And I was thinking about the possibilities. And truthfully, I didn't really care whether Ken or PC Chris won half as much as I cared that people were actually watching. Because the Halo kids were watching, and adults were watching, and girls were watching. And that's the direction I wanted to go. I always wanted more from Melee. I didn't want it to stay as it was. I wanted to explode into something different. I wanted it to be like poker or NASCAR, where it garners this fan base that's a little bigger.
Yeah. That moment then must have been kind of more joyous than anything to see Ken getting hoisted up and carried around, because maybe that would have been a hallmark of it.
Sure. I wasn't really upset when Ken won. I probably pretended to be upset, but truthfully, I was just having a good time. MLG was still so novel at the time that everything was happening was constantly impressive and constantly blowing away. MLG Anaheim was also the tournament where they brought, children who were hospitalized. They brought them to the tournament so we could play with them. It was play with a pro, so it was some charity work at the same time. And that, again, it was very mainstream for me and very exciting. So at Anaheim, I started to really think about Smash, competitive Melee, competitive video games as a career, as an industry, as opposed to a creepy hobby.
Nice. There was another large upset that year. I believe this was the later in the year, 2006 New York playoffs, where Ozin came back against the Evil Ken.
Sure. It was the greatest comeback, in my opinion, of all time. People will point to videos where there was a stock difference of a greater comeback, but when Asin beat Ken and that Marth Ditto, where he came back 3-1, where he basically didn't get hit, and when he was on the ledge, he just kept not dying when he should have died, that was out of control. I mean, it was an out-of-control match, and I cannot imagine anybody watching that match and not getting wrapped up in it. That was absolutely epic. And remember, Asin was out of the game at that time. MLG Chicago was his first tournament back in a long time, and that's why he was in the amateur bracket, okay, because he had to come back from not having any points from the first couple of events. And he came back, and there was a lot of doubt whether Asin still had it or not. But when you have it like Asin, you never really lose it. Okay, you don't. And Marth Ditto was always one of his best matchups. Well, any Ditto is Asin's best matchup because it kind of concentrates on the mind games. I combined it. Asin concentrates on the mind games, as the H2AR rep goes. I play with the mind games. These games cause the migraines, which I love. And that's what he did. I mean, in a Ditto, he can really spotlight how smart he is and how he transcends character and is only about decisions. And a Ditto that's spotlighted, and that was a fantastic match.
Nice. And like that was actually the first time that Asin beat Ken in a tournament, right? Like that before then, and then he went on to win it, of course.
That's right. Asin was able to really find his spotlight, and that was very important, that tournament, because that was the first tournament where Asin and Chillin and husband and wife were all part of something called Team Carbon, which also included the Halo guys. And that tournament in New York, Team Carbon won every single event, because Karma won the Halo Free-For-All, and Carbon won the Halo 4v4, Asin and Chillin won 2v2 in Smash, and then Asin won singles. So we swept an entire Major League Gaming. It was unbelievable. I don't think anyone's done that before or since. And the alliance of Smash and Halo was already exciting. And then to sweep the entire event was brilliant. So if Asin were to pick a time to really come out of nowhere and just take the time to finally overthrow Ken, and Asin and Chillin for Groom Blue to be on, that was the tournament. Everything lined up, and we all felt like celebrities. And actually, there was a bomb threat at about 3 o'clock in the morning of Anaheim, as it were, and we were all outside and celebrated. We were with Shockwave and Karma and Gandhi and hanging out and just really feeling like we were on the dawn of something greater.
Nice. Now you said Anaheim. Was that Anaheim?
Oh, I meant New York. There was a bomb threat in New York. We all went outside in the parking lot and talked about our success and really felt like we're really on the cusp of something that was about to happen, that was about to get even better.
It made me remember actually does the name Chocolate Diablo mean anything to you?
Yeah, El Chocolate Diablo, potentially a contender for the greatest team of all time. Ken and Isaiah marked the first reign. It was a reign even more powerful than Ken's reign, in my opinion. They were even more unthinkable to beat. El Chocolate Diablo, Ken and Isaiah, you have... Isaiah is, without question, the best teams player to ever play the game. I don't think anyone would challenge that.
No,
and when you put him in a team with the best singles player at the time, it was absolutely daunting, and playing them was ridiculous, because they would play with Marth Falcon, and if you somehow found a way to get the edge over Marth Falcon, they just play Marth Sheik, and then it was just stupid, because Isaiah's Sheik is dumb, is stupid, is ridiculous. You feel like he's breaking the game, and it's not even any fun to play against. He gets you by the balls and doesn't let you go. And then the Newlyweds played against El Chocolate Diablo a number of times, and I can't say that we ever got close. But it was exciting because it wasn't, and that's what I mean about having a villain, how important it is. We didn't play them, and we all said, let's split the winnings after this tournament, and we're like, oh, we play again, it's fun. It was very serious. And I remember this would have been MLG Atlanta of the season before the golden season, when the Newlyweds, and then also lucky number 7, which would have been Oro and Neo, and El Chocolate Diablo, Ken and Isaiah were the last 3 teams in the tournament. And we Team Men always decides who's going to go on. We don't play for it. We don't believe in that. We're one crew. And so we decided to let the Newlyweds take a shot at Ken and Isaiah. And we didn't go in thinking there's no way we can win. It's just, it's where let's just have fun. We went in trying to defeat them. Let's identify their weaknesses, and we play, and we got creamed pretty hard, but we were very serious about it the whole time and trying to beat them, and we're doing the absolute best we can. And when the set was over, Ken said to me, you should have let them try. You had no chance. Ooh. But that's the kind of thing that makes a person want to get better. That's exciting. It gives life a little flavor. No one would say that now. You know, people don't say things like that to each other, but Ken, he didn't care. He said he should have let them try. They're better than you.
Bastard.
What a bastard.
There was a match where you were fighting Ken. Chillin actually asked me to mention this, where you were this close to beating him.
Yes.
What was that like?
I'll be happy to tell that story. It's a good story. So to recap quickly. I am the Marth Slayer. I don't lose to Marth. Okay, let's just be clear about that. I don't lose to Marth. Kevin, husband, and I have been playing video games together since we were 7, and our synergy is very important. He's my #1 practice partner. Kevin is also a douchebag, which is important to the story because when you're playing Kevin, he won't let you stop playing until he wins. I mean, he will not. Okay, we can be about to go to a party or a movie or to sleep. It doesn't matter. We don't stop playing until Kevin realizes why he's losing. And so if Kevin and I are playing Marth Peach, Marth Peach, Marth Peach, March Peach, I want to play Sheik for a little while. Nope. Let's go catch that movie. We're going to miss it. Nope. Sit down and keep playing till I win. Okay, because he wants to get better. He's got that drive in him. And he's a jerk. It's a combination of the both. It's a fantastic combination. He's very stubborn, though. And so Kevin and I played endless amounts of Marth Peach, so I know everything that Marth can do. Nothing surprises me. I'm talking in the present tense of 06 or 5 or 4, Lord knows when it was, many, many years ago. And so that was for sure. And I beat Eduardo at the first FC, and that was one of the first names I ever beat. And I sandbagged against KM in the first tournament I ever won, where we were playing a best of 5, and I lost the first 2 matches on purpose to make him think that I was weak against Marth, when of course I think could be farther from the truth. I can play Marth in my sleep. Forget about it. And it was my destiny to play Ken. It was my destiny because we were rivals as people, and because I was the Marth Slayer. And it finally happened that at MLG Atlanta, I was pitted against him. And I found out, I read the bracket. It was great, too, because I beat Mike G for the first time, my Peach mentor. I finally beat him. And a quick side story, the way I beat Mike G was I copied him. I figured I'm not as good as this guy, so let me be exactly as good as him and just hope the cards fall in my favor. And so we were playing this ditto, Mike G and I, best of 5, and I just copied his moves. Play by play, stock by stock, I just did whatever he was doing to me back at him, and I swept Mike G 3-0. I was ecstatic. And I'll be damned if my next match wasn't Ken. Wasn't Sephiroth Ken my destiny to fight this guy. So I walked over to his TV and I said, Ken, we got to play. And he was like, and I was like, no, you don't understand. This is Destiny. We play right now. Okay, insert Dragon Ball Z metaphor here, whatever. Okay, I said, get up, we're playing right now. So I sit him down. Marth Peach. He trashes me. Then I do some ridiculous combos, and I win the first match. Done. He makes the error of staying Marth. Okay, let me try that again. And then same thing. He had the fighting a 2-stack lead on me, but when I'm playing Marth, I don't get nervous. Okay, that was what because that's comfort zone for me. And I beat him again 2-0. I'm about to beat Ken, who's never been beat before. Okay, I'm about to beat him and 3-0 at an MLG. Big deal. Third match is just to go to Fox, as if I don't eat Fox as well. Pokemon Stadium, right? So I'm eating him. It's going great. I'm up 2-stack to 1, and he's ready to go. 1 good ledge guard would do it, no problem. And then he kills me, and then it's 1-stack to 1-stack, but I'm up 1%. And then he pulls the what I now call the Pokemon Stadium combo, where he's coming me upwards, up air. Maybe there's a second up air, I don't know. But a third one would have killed me, but Fox can't reach Peach at that level. So I didn't even bother to DI or to air dodge or anything, because Fox can't reach there. But Ken, that resourceful son of a bitch, jumped on the windmill and then got me on the top level. And I died. I was furious, and that was it. That was my glory. And then I do start to get nervous, which is terrible. Ken goes to FD, which should be no problem. Peach Marth at FD. I could do it again with my eyes closed. I don't know why I went back to Marth. I guess because they did pretty well against this Fox, but he beat me. I don't really know how. I guess it was the nerves, but I consider it a fluke because I don't lose to Marth. And the final match was on Mute City. It was on Mute City, and I was doing well, as a Peach should on Mute City, and I was up again 2-stack to 1. All I had to do was just finish him off. I was so nervous. I've never been so nervous in my life. My hands were physically shaking. They were covered with sweat, and they were shaking, and I couldn't play, and I'm sorry to John. I know that I am, but it was conditions that I couldn't handle. And maybe that's why Ken won, because he was a better competitor. Maybe he could handle the pressure, and I couldn't. Maybe that's why, but I couldn't, is the fact of the matter. I couldn't do what I wanted my character to do. I was clumsy, and I must have been obvious, and he beat me, and I threw my controller, and I screamed, and I dropped a couple of F-bombs, and I know that Hugs taunted me about that for a long time. I was pissed. I was mega pissed. I didn't shake his hand or anything. I was bad. It was pretty shameful for me to lose so poorly, but it was I think the trajectory of my Smash career would have been forever changed if I'd won that third match, fourth match, fifth match. If I had just realized that he could get up on the windmill, or if I just finished him off on Mute City. He was really ready to go, and it was my match to lose, and I did, and it was very tough. And I can't go back and watch the matches on YouTube. It's just too painful. But I do think things would have been different for me if I beat him. I think everything would have been different.
Like chilling, dude.
Probably doesn't help his
He's
cause.
the first person to beat Ken.
Malevolent one in your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we in history now? I guess at this point we're 2006.
Well, yours confused me, though. We did go backwards because we went all the way to New York playoffs.
Right.
We didn't go to Vegas, but we went to the season before where I played Ken and also Mike G and stuff.
I guess actually it would be great if you could talk about Vegas a little bit.
Sure.
That was another crazy event. Like at this point, this was a lot more of these new generation guys like KDJ and
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true.
Yeah. What was Vegas like?
Vegas.
Yeah, you could grab a. Are you out there?
I am out there.
Did you want to get some water or did you want another beer?
I don't know. I mean, just the right amount of inebriated.
Would you like a little water?
I'll take a glass of water,
Right.
please. Yeah,
Two glasses.
right above the sink are the glasses. That'd be great.
No more.
Seaweed snacks as am
It's our first time getting them, but we love them. They're brilliant.
I. Unbelievably good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. MLG Las Vegas. So we have here the epitome of MLG, the epitome of why MLG was such an amazing thing for so many reasons. Let's talk this setting. We're in Vegas, first of all. Vegas, baby. And we were at the Red Rock Casino, the single most beautiful hotel I've been to. I've been to a lot of beautiful hotels for work, one reason or another, but this hotel was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. There were chandeliers, but tasteful chandeliers, and fantastic food. And the shower had a mirror, so you could watch yourself shower, or presumably watch yourself have sex with the hooker you brought back in the shower. I mean, either way, but I'd never seen a mirror in a shower before, and it was gorgeous. And we really, really enjoyed the luxury that it was. We flew there on MLG's dime. Okay, we took a taxi on MLG's dime to get there, stayed in the hotel that MLG paid for, in this fantastic hotel, and they had the split screen set up for the singles to play. It was a brilliant, brilliant setup. So everyone there already feels, I think, like a pro, like a professional, and that was very important. And I think that MLG Las Vegas, among other things, was the mark of definitely Ken's ultimate demise. I mean, that was it. There was no denying. I think even Ken admitted to it at that point, and then also possibly the official ushering in of the new generation. You had Korean DJ beat Ken. I don't think it was his first time beating Ken, but he just smeared Ken's face in the mud at this tournament, so much so that Ken went Captain Falcon in his last match. KDJ was just running circles around him, truthfully, and it was very exciting to see. I always think the KDJ had it in him, but this time he really showed it. And Ken plays. Actually, I was really, really impressed that Ken placed fourth at that tournament. I thought he was going to place much worse after the beating he took. But again, he's a competitor, and so staying away with fourth was impressive. But for me, that was it. Knowing that it was time for the new people to come in. Your Mewtwo King, your Korean DJ, and PC Chris. And then in the finals were Korean DJ versus PC Chris, and I remember thinking that watching this match, there was no heat whatsoever because we were just so surprised to see these two people. I mean, imagine the parallel if you're your favorite football, baseball, whatever. I mean, if you saw two teams that you really weren't watching to go fighting each other, you almost wouldn't know what to do with it. You don't know who to root for. You're just kind of watching, and it was great melee. But I wasn't as invested even because there was no heat. There was an entire season's worth of rivalry culminating in one match. It was PC Chris versus Korean DJ, and surprisingly, PC Chris won. And PC Chris winning, showing us that the fire that was Korean DJ wasn't enough. It wasn't enough, even though it was enough to beat Ken, which was fantastic. I remember I was commentating on Korean DJ versus Chudat. It's not important, but I was commenting on a Chudat match, who, by the way, went 2-0. After a stellar season, he went 2-0, and I must have been very difficult for him because, again, he's a good competitor, but just wasn't his time. And off in the corner was Muta King versus Ken, which is an incredible match. That was when Ken hit Muta King under the stage of Dreamland, and he upbeat and caught the right side of Dreamland. He went all the way under, and everyone was screaming. And that's the excitement of commentaries. You can let the audience know what else is happening. And we were trying to commentate on 2 matches at once because it was pretty incredible. But yeah, it was a beautiful tournament.
Nice. It was I'd love to get your opinion on these various competitors too, like their personalities.
I love talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you can illuminate some, like was there anything else you wanted to say or have on your mind about Vegas?
About Vegas? No. Truthfully, what I remember most is Vegas.
Yeah.
And the hotel.
Yeah.
Some of the tournaments there, but not all of it. Oh no, I'll tell more thing about Vegas. Yeah. MLG Vegas was also the best tournament the Newlyweds have ever seen. We started off the season at the New York Opener with 4th place with a great showing, and we did worse and worse every single event. We went 4th, 5th, I think 6th, 7th, 9th. I don't know, but it was really just a downfall. And still making maybe a couple $100 if we were lucky, but the Vegas was our last shot. Neither one of husband or I were in singles. We didn't place high enough to make it into the pro bracket for Vegas, the championships. But our team was there, and we had a very, very exciting tournament. We beat Groom Blue. It was the first time, maybe only time, but definitely the first time we ever beat Groom Blue, which is really impressive. We beat Crystal City. It was a good tournament for us, and I think 4th place was really solid, and it was a really great way to finish out the season. And again, we felt like even though we were down, we weren't out, and that things aren't written in stone. We lost to Muta King and King, which were an incredible team. But I was very pleased with their performance.
Do you remember who won in the doubles, like who were in first place?
I don't, and I'll tell you why. Because after all the excitement and all the great teams and the great season, somehow, if I'm not mistaken, it was Chudat and Manacloud who made it to the finals with Ken and Isaiah. And so they didn't play it out, and no one cared, and it was dumb. I remember just being appalled that happened. Because Manacloud's Manacloud, and because they didn't take it seriously, and it was just what I would call a mess and not exciting. I don't know how Muta King and King didn't get the better of them.
What happened with Chudat kind of like moving to the West Coast, the whole thing? Like he went out with Ken's sister for a while, right?
Yeah, Chudat went out with Ken's sister. Yeah, I suppose. I don't know. I try not to dignify that by paying too close of attention to it. But I remember being really pissed at FC. I guess it was 3 when Chudat wanted to play for the West Coast because he had spent like 2 months there, which is just a long sleepover in my opinion. And that was really silly. The silliest part of all was that they thought that they could win if they recruited Chudat. I don't know what that was supposed to have anything to do with anything, but it was West Coast 1 year, and it was the South another year. I really hated Chu. I like him a lot now. I mean, good guy. He made some shitty choices, and something to remember is that we were all kids there. We were all kids, and teenagers just in general suck. And so, you had these, big rivalries, and this and that, but really you're just snotty little kids making dumb choices. I'm sure I was an idiot too.
Was it ever like, with these big prizes when MLG came into it, having that kind of big money on the line, did that ever change the dynamic? Was there ever like things get really personal with that kind of?
I don't think money ever changed the dynamic between the players that were there. I don't think most people cared. I think people who were good at money weren't playing for the money. Some were. Ken, for example, was playing for the money. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's good. But Azin, for example, on more than one occasion, I'd go over to Azin's house to play, and there'd be a pile of checks on his desk, like parking tickets to him. You can't just ignore him. You can't throw him away. But he feels like, that's just garbage, So he wouldn't cash his checks, and that was true. I think of a lot of the competitors. Muta King, for example, PC Chris. They don't need that. What are they going to use the money for? They don't need it. They don't want it. So no, I don't think that mattered. What I think the money did, and aside from the sponsorships and legitimizing the game and blah blah blah, which I could go on for, but what I think that the money did is I think it introduced players who may not have started playing without a money incentive. You have what I call MLG era players. For example, your Zelik and Fast Like Tree. I'd never heard of him before that season. I think they pretty much disappeared. Or what about King? He kind of came out of nowhere. He was an MLG player. That season he was there and he was good, and then that was kind of it. And I do think that, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but for players like him anyway, the money was important. And for me, what was nice is not necessarily that every last dollar, but it was getting a check. And it'll show people, look at this check I got for $500. Instead of taking home, 620s that you lose in gas money anyway. It was about legitimizing the sport. That's what mattered.
That's cool. I like that. With the regards to someone like Mewtwo King, and actually, could you describe a little bit about Mewtwo King, like who he is as a person and
Sure.
as a competitor?
Sure. Mewtwo King is one of the people who makes the game interesting, and is what made it such a learning experience for me. Because what a fantastically interesting person! What a superficially stereotypical, but then also very interesting person, especially in how it comes out in his play style. I don't know that he's ever confirmed where he is on the autistic spectrum, whether he's got a little bit of Asperger's or not. I certainly don't want to make any judgments, but he's in that vein. He's in that Rain Man world. Mewtwo King can in fact recite many, many, many digits of pi, enough so that you have to tell him to stop when he's doing it. Mewtwo King lacks the ability to judge social clues. You get him in ridiculous situations sometimes. One time I lost my jacket at a tournament, and I went out to the lobby and I found him sleeping in my jacket, and he didn't realize that it was weird. Mewtwo King, one time we were in a car together, and we made a joke about that. Just get out of the car. And he opened the door and tried to leave while we were driving. And I think he would have done it if we hadn't pulled him back in. He's a complete nutcase, which is exciting. And while we're doing anecdotal stuff, but I'll get past this, a fantastic Mewtwo King story, which just has to be told. Mewtwo King was staying at Scar's house, and Scar got really, really sick. And it took me like 90 minutes or so to take Mewtwo King back. And Scar's dad, who was like, he's Philadelphia, but like tough guy Philadelphia, Italian. And he said, I'll take the kid home. Don't worry about it, And then Scar's like, you don't understand. You can't just take Mewtwo King. He's like, no, I'll take him home. And I wasn't there, but so the story goes. It's a great story. But so Scar's dad is driving Mewtwo King home. Mewtwo King is giving him directions on how to get to his house. And he's like, all right, take left at the light and go straight here and turn left in here. And he directs him straight into McDonald's. And he turns to him, instead of like explaining why they're McDonald's parking lot, he goes, 5-piece chicken McNugget. And just assume that Scar's dad would buy him a chicken McNugget. I mean, that's what his life was like. That's what the people in the community did for him. They sort of babysat him, but they got him everything he needed. And do you know why that's so fantastic? Why it's so interesting and idiosyncratic and story-worthy? Is because in the beginning, Mewtwo King was what they call on the internet a troll. Okay, it was. Of course, everyone's aware of Mewtwo King's the breakdown of the game frame rate. If you want to know how many frames your character's jump is, you ask Mewtwo King; he will know. And it used to be that he was on the boards and talking about this and that. And I remember trying to get housing for GS2. No one gave him any respect, and no one wanted to house him. And I remember playing him, and he lost me by a stock. He goes, "Oh, Chillin lost you by a stock at such a tournament. I'm as good as Chillin." It's like, shut the fuck up. He was pompous, and he rubbed people the wrong way, and people really, I think, dismissed him, if not outright disliked him, because I don't think he knew how to really express himself properly. But he wasn't good enough, and I think that GS2 was still in the realm and the phase where you got respect by being good, okay? Flash forward 2 years, he's reinvented the game and is absolutely the best person on the planet at the time, and he's done incredible things for this game, and now people follow him around. People are cleaning up after him. People remind him to bring his coat. They buy him food. They worship him. Mewtwo can get on the boards and be like, I need a controller. And people respond and say, take my controller, Mewtwo King. And usually people wouldn't give him the time of the day. But now that he's a god of this game, people will do anything that he wants. The power that he holds by being so excellent at this game, you have to respect it. And he's an interesting person. I don't think that a lot of people would have gotten to know him, possibly because of the social barrier between him and other people. But I think he's made real friends that he's been able to hang out with and spend time with and make a connection with because he was good at the game. Not because he played it, because he was good at it, because there was a difference.
Interesting. Yeah, and it is amazing how that experience with the Smash community has kind of brought him out of his shell a little bit.
It did bring him out of his shell. It brought Mewtwo King out of his shell, but it also destroyed him. It absolutely just obliterated him. For one thing, I don't know this for a fact, so I don't know how documentary this is, but I do think that Smash introduced him to drinking a little bit. Definitely some socializing, some partying. I suspect it made drinking altogether, perhaps. I think it introduced him to it, which is fantastic. So it brought him out of his shell. So there's that aspect of it. But also, so much of Mew2King's identity came from being a god at the game. So on comes Mango, his kryptonite. And when Mango beat him in those awful, horrendous, embarrassing Jigglypuff dittos, I think it changed him forever. At least in a Smash way, if not in a real world kind of way. Mew2King's not able to beat Mango anymore. It's like something broke in his brain, and he forever has a mind block where he can't beat him, and it's a shame. And you see just the frustration in losing to him. Particularly, I think ROM was a good case of that, where Mew2King lost to Mango, and he loses one match or two matches, and that's it. He's done for the tournament. He can't bounce back from it. He's not like a Kenrick. He doesn't like the adversity. He doesn't like being cheered against. He doesn't like not understanding what's going on. And those things there, I really saw frustration and anger in him. And I think he takes that on himself, and I think it's sad to see him build up so much as a hero, and then to, first of all, be turned into a villain, someone you root against. And used to be everyone rooted for Mew2King. And then by the end, people were rooting against him, and then to see him fall to Mango is very heartbreaking for me. It's very sad.
And there's pieces of footage of him kind of drinking and there's one in particular that I find is an incredibly compelling piece where he's it's heartbreaking. He's really drunk and he's just kind of sitting like this in a corner after a match at somebody's house, and I don't know. It's tough.
When I played the glory days, as you might call them, I didn't drink ever, let alone at a Smash tournament. I didn't imbibe, and I do now. I found the glory that is alcohol eventually, of course, but in my time I didn't drink. I abstained completely. And it's very frustrating for me to see people would bring alcohol to tournaments, because that wasn't what tournaments were about for me. They were escape from college, where all that mattered was drinking, and people would bring the drinking into the tournaments. And to me, I really disliked that, and it disconnected me from the rest of the scene, especially Maryland and Virginia, because they were heavy partiers.
Was that a big part of Team Arlington? Was it?
Oh, I think that Team Arlington believed that you should play the game to have fun, and I believe that you should play the game to make other people feel badly about themselves. I don't really mean that, of course. That is hyperbole. That's an extreme of what I thought. But I did think that you should play the game to exploit the game and be good at it and discover things that way. But Team Arlington wanted to play to have fun. It didn't matter how you played. And of course, I would always retort, that's because you're not as good as me. That's why you think it's for fun. I think that we're both a little bit wrong, for sure. But yeah, they would bring pot to the tournaments, and they would bring a drink to the tournaments, and it caused a couple of fights, I think. Not between them, I think they were fine, but between me and them, for sure. And it disconnected them. And when MLG came out, it was an avenue where you weren't drinking at the tournament because it was a professional setting. And it just created the gap even wider between my local community and MLG. And despite the fact that I was born and raised in Maryland, Virginia, and with this community, and that's where I learned to play, I think that most everyone who lived in MDVA disliked me and disliked Team Ben, and that was just the way it was for a while. I symbolized MLG and what I thought was progress, but certainly a stiffness and a professionalism and money and progress, and they didn't want that, and I did, and we were very viciously divided on it. It was difficult, especially when it came time for crew battles. When I was captaining the team, when sometimes we were able to get past it, but sometimes not.
Yeah. We have to definitely touch on FC3, which you were a captain on that in that setting, right? I believe, or were you not?
I was a captain for the East Coast for 3 national victories. Mm-hmm. FC3, FC6. And also at MLG, where they did a crew battle. I was captain all 3 of those times. And, and we reached victory. And under, when I was captain, as well as I think a few times when I was not, the East Coast was positively undefeated. And then actually, for every time that I captained it, we never once put in our last man. And that's a fact.
Going to the more personal, those stories are exactly what I'm looking for about Mew2King, because that really brings out the humanity in him and in the interactions that he has and what the community has done. Give me those stories.
Sure.
Are any that are in the top of your head bubbling up about Mew2King or KDJ?
Okay. I'll do KDJ briefly. It's an easy one for me, okay? If I had to pick my favorite Smash player of all time, it would no doubt be Korean DJ. For me, he's the spirit of Smash. He has this fire in him that's fantastic to watch, which again legitimized the game as a sport. He was good in interviews. He said interesting things. Once in an interview, he said that he played the game like a freestyle rap. It was different for him, and you could see it in game. I mean, in high-level tournament matches, you can see him trying new things and learning as he goes, which reflects his personality, which is just spicy and fiery and just a lot of there. The first time I met Korean DJ was one at a tournament up in Massachusetts, I believe, and this was when he wasn't so good and I was fucking excellent, and we were playing money matches. He wants to money match me. And this was back in the day when there were, you knew every good person in the country. Now, let's say I was as good as I was, which I know I'm not, you don't know who can beat you. You can go into a tournament and lose to someone whose name you don't know because there's just so much skill. And also the spectrum is wider and there's more notches along the way. But back in the day, there were a handful of good people. That was it. If I don't know your name, you can't beat me. If I had never heard of you, I'd put $100 on the line. So it was simple. So I was on a TV and I was just taking the money matches, just one at a time, just line them up, $5, let's go. I'll give you 2-to-1 odds. I'll start with 3 stock, you start with 4 stock, whatever. It was invincible. This is a long time ago. Things were different. And we're doing that, and KDJ would play me in a $5 money match, and I craned him, and he said, again, your money, boss. Craned him again. I was like, I think you need to let some other people get up so we can keep the rotation moving. Nope, he wouldn't get up. I think he lost $20 to me. I think he lost 4 $5 money matches to me in a row. But he didn't care. He wouldn't get mad. He would just get determined. You could see it. He wanted to play and play and play and play. And again, it's so funny that this was just this kid here. What's your name? Give me $5 more. And then flash forward, I can't even keep up with him. I can't even positively understand the genius of his play. It was always in him, but he hadn't brought it out yet, and that's fantastic. But he's absolutely a competitor, someone who never gives up, and you can see it when he plays. I remember seeing him at MLG Vegas when he would get bested. If you play, this was back when there were 2 TVs facing each other, and usually when someone loses a game, they think to themselves, they consult with a friend, or they might want to regroup. But he, whether he won or he lost, either way, he would win, and he would stand up, look over the TV, and tell his counterpick and get back down and start the match as soon as possible. I mean, he wanted as much non-playing time, or as little playing time in between matches as possible. If he lost especially, start the next match as soon as possible. I want to get back in the game, I want to get back in the fight, and I want to go. And you could always see it in there. It was fantastic. It was his personality, but it comes out in the way he plays, which is fantastic in the game. And when you saw KDJ play Mew2King, and KDJ Sheik went off the ledge to chase Mew2King's flame and hit him with that F-air, we didn't see it anywhere before. And you know why? I don't think anyone ever wanted to take a stock so badly in their life. I don't think anyone ever just hated the character, not the person, the character. He was like, I need to just take these stock and just destroy them. And it's that kind of mentality, that personality that drove him to fly off the ledge farther than people ever had, and just ledge guard in a way that was just rude. As a player, he was rude, and as a person, so nice. But once it came there, it was whatever necessary. It was beautiful to watch. My favorite player of all time. And I think had he kept at it, he would have been the best. He was arguably the best at the time. PC Chris, some other things were happening. Mew2King and him was never quite clear, but he was the potential to be definitely the best of all time.
Was it like a 3-way rivalry?
Yeah, absolutely. PC Chris, Korean DJ, and Mew2King were the 3 young kids. And it was a 3-way rivalry, and it wasn't clear who was best, which is interesting. And they all took away with Ken, which was interesting. And they were the 3 people who were able to beat Ken, which was a big deal for a time. And I kind of feel like, whereas a lot of times one champion is replaced by another, okay, for example, Mew2King was replaced by Mango for sure. We've seen that. But Ken was replaced by PC Chris, Korean DJ, and Mew2King all at the same time, which is kind of cool that it took 3 people to bring Ken down. Okay, that's pretty cool. I'll say that again because I hate when I stutter. Ken was replaced by Korean DJ, PC Chris, and Mew2King, which is actually pretty cool that he was so good and such an enemy that it took 3 people to bring him down. And that's the way it was. He was replaced by the 3 of them, and then they went at it, and it wasn't clear. They were also all 3 from the Northeast, which was important. So they were from the same region, which I think really had an effect on the way everything felt, which was beautiful.
When that happened, when they slew Ken and Ken started to kind of fade away a little bit, was that kind of an indication that, yeah, West Coast is just not as good as East Coast?
I do think so. The only reason why West Coast could compare with East Coast is because of Ken and to a lesser degree Isaiah, and their prowess was what made our coasts sort of comparable. But with Ken Feld, it was no doubt that the East Coast was best. And there was a time, let's not forget, there was a time when Maryland and Virginia could take on the entire world. I don't think we ever actually did it, but let's be honest. The players just in the states of Maryland and Virginia could have taken on every other top 5 from MDVA, top 5 versus the rest of the world, we would have won for a time. That was a big deal. And then Northeast got better than MDVA, but it was all the East Coast. That's where it happens, where all the major cities are. That's where the best players are. That's a fact.
What is your, in the same vein as your descriptions of M2K and KDJ, your take on Isaiah as a person and as a fighter?
Okay.
In watching him in the same game.
Isaiah is a fantastically interesting person because I definitely don't know really what's inside him. I don't know how many people do, but I get the feeling that he's hiding a certain amount of his personality, and I have often suspected that he always hid a little bit of pain. And I don't know that, I don't know his story really, but I do think it's interesting. I think that his tag is little known where it came from. Isai is how you would pronounce that, but it's just, Isaiah is just kind of what he's called, and it sounds like it's this thing that it's not. But his tag being Asai, and the tag he puts on his on Melee when he plays, the girl that he likes, a girl we don't really know a lot about, and a tag we don't really know where it came from, and is a very quiet person, a person who doesn't like the rivalries, a person who is withdrawn into himself, and I think isn't one to celebrate his greatness. I mean, as amazing as he is on teams, do you know why Isaiah is so good on teams? Because he doesn't want to let Ken down. Because he's that kind of team partner, maybe friend, I don't know. But when there's someone else on the line, he will play his heart out. But in singles, you don't see that from Isaiah. You don't. It's not choking. He just doesn't care. Sometimes I think that Isaiah didn't want to take the victory away from the person across from him. I think he'd rather lose and see the next person win than win himself and see the person across from him bummed out. That was the kind of person, he didn't care about the glory, didn't care about the victory. He went to Smash tournaments because I think he liked the community or the camaraderie or the support. I never stayed in Isaiah's house, but husband did, and he told me about it, and I think he was able to make much more of a connection than I did, and it made me wonder about this person that we don't know. But as with Asin, similar, very quiet people. I don't know that crippling is fair, but certainly a shyness that just absolutely changed the way he went through life and the way he went through the Smash community. A very shy person, so I don't know that everyone got to know him. And the biggest tragedy about Isaiah, as well as Asin, is they're funny people, so funny. But you would know it because they don't speak up. They're not making videos where they threaten to throw states in the ocean, and they're not screaming bung when someone gets hit. They have their own brand of humor that's a little more subtle. And I don't know that it always came out, but he's a person with a lot of depth that I don't think that we really got to know.
Yeah, talk a little more about Asin too, because both of them in the same vein. It's funny you mentioned that little piece of pain, because I talked with Isaiah, just as an aside really quick, for 3 hours at Apex, and we were just, he's very quiet, and so I was very kind of stayed back and let him kind of talk and just at his own pace. And it came out, he talked to me a little bit about, at the tournament there was a girl with him that he had feelings for, and it was amazing. He talked to me a little bit about his confidence issues and stuff like that, and it was amazing because it's I don't know if he's really opened up like that before. So it's very interesting you picked up on that.
Yeah.
Because I think you're right. He does have some kind of deep-seated things.
Whatever they are. And let's also examine how amazing Smash has been for so many people, because it's provided a whole different world for sure, but also an outlet for these people. And I wonder how many people wouldn't have expressed themselves through Smash. They find an identity that maybe they didn't have in real life, or that's different than they had in real life. I wouldn't say that I found myself in Smash, but I found a second self in Smash. having this gamer tag and this alternate life and this alternate set of friends and this alternate set of goals allowed me to have an identity that was very different. In regular life, I'm actually, some people call me the most positive person they've met. I'm a very positive person. But in Smash, I'm arrogant. I'm arrogant, and I can be condescending, and I know what I want, and I'm aggressive and forceful, and it's fun to have that second identity. So for me, it was dual identities. For me, it was being able to have fun in a different manner without there being the same sets of consequences, because it was almost like being in battle or in war. But I wonder how many people found a community where they were able to express themselves where they couldn't before, and they found friends where they could express themselves and they couldn't before. I love hearing about and seeing Smashers hang out at tournaments, outside of the actual gameplay. I think that's fantastic. And I think that Asin may be one of those. And I don't know about Asin's real-world personality. I can't say that for sure, but I can say that his personality in the Smash world is very cool. And I did get to know that Asin, and I very much enjoyed it. Asin's one of the funniest people I've ever met. He's great to hang out with. He's great because he's so unassuming. No word could better describe Asin than unassuming. He is loath to accept his greatness. And he is humble, to the nth degree humble, for all the games that he's good at besides just Melee, where he holds these world records in a game that he just picked up just because he's Asin. He's humble, and he never brags. He also doesn't talk badly about anyone, and he doesn't say no, which is another great part of it. Not only is he just mellow and kind of goes with the flow, because he doesn't really want to put up a fight, I think he really wants to do everything you say. It's like, hey, Asin, do you want to play Smash for 12 hours in a row and not eat? I do. But that doesn't matter, but it's not just about the game. Hey, Asin, let's take a road trip to Michigan. I'm in. He's always in. Asin sit in the front seat, great. Asin sit in the back seat, great. Everyone's falling asleep on a road trip, and Asin, here's what Asin would do on road trips. This is fantastic. Team Ben took many a road trip with Asin. He was always good to go. Team Ben was always good to go as well. But Asin would sit, let's say there's 3 people. Let's say it's husband and wife in the front seat and Asin in the back seat, okay? Instead of sitting in one of the seats or maybe falling asleep on the door, he sits in the center seat and leans forward so he can be up in the front seat with you guys. He's just always game to party. He's always ready to go. He always wants to be a part of it, and always in such a positive way, Hey, Asin, let's sit in silence for 3 hours. Great, I've got no problem with that. I won't bother you with questions. Asin, let's put on show tunes. We're going to sing Little Mermaid. And we did sing Little Mermaid, okay? And he was game for that, and that's what an incredible person he was. This is a funny story about Asin, a little tidbit. When you would go to restaurants with Asin, he was so, if shy is the right word, or indecisive, or just passive maybe, but he didn't like to pick something off the menu to order. So much like in Smash, how he would ditto your character, he'd ditto your meal order. He'd wait till you would order and just go, I'll take whatever he's having. And he would ditto Oro, who's a vegetarian. But he would, great, I'm vegetarian tonight. Awesome. Tofu, great, give me one of those. And it didn't matter. He's always happy. And plus he always got to finish his food, which is a big deal as well. But funny and a lot of fun to hang out with. And all those 12, 14-hour trips to the Midwest for FC and whatever. He's great company and a great guy.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool.
Take a brief break.
Yes, absolutely.
Just a super brief. I'd like to pee and get a beer.
Yeah.
Is it easy to dismantle this or hook it on, or
here, I'll take
or should we unplug?
So, talking about individual personalities and cool stories, eliminating things. Why don't we touch on Chillin' Dude 8249 or 2849?
Chillin' Dude 829. There's a powerful force in the Smash community. There's someone who's been around for a long time and was able to do a lot of things at once. Was able to be an important part of a rivalry that was perhaps even more potent with Ken than my own. And he was a kid, immensely talented, immensely smart, just very quick and sharp, but also with a bit of a mean streak in a way that gives a person personality and gives them weight in the community, and I really enjoyed that. Chillin' is a person who I would definitely call my friend, who was decidedly better than me overall, but my record in tournament is 3-0. That's 3 me, Chillin' 0, even though he beats me all the money matches we play. And otherwise, he's a very talented person, and he's got a move named after him. Who else has a move named after? Who else has a move named after them besides Chillin'? a couple people, let's be honest. But he has a pretty basic move. He has a move that requires 2 buttons named after him. So he's a staple of the Smash community, which is very exciting. But he ran Live or Die single-handedly. I think he was a big part of running Go. And he's always around versus during all these very big Smash moments. Chillin was there. He was a part of it, and that's a big deal.
Now, the move that you're talking about, was that the one that you pulled on Ken to defeat him at Game Over? Or was that...
I don't know, did they name it because he defeated Ken? I don't know. The Chillin is simply this. You throw somebody upwards and then hit them with an up air. Do you want me to repeat it so you can get that, or you got it okay?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Must have come from Game Over then, because
Okay.
Game Over was where he, that was the first time that Ken had been defeated and lost a set. Was Game Over. So.
Yeah. Well, and that's a simple move that I'm sure people were already doing at some point, but we named it the Chillin because he trademarked it, and that was very cool for me. Yeah, but he was a training partner for me, because he lived pretty close, and a person with a spirit, but also a capable person, who I team with on more than one occasion. Teaming up with Team Ben and Carbon and someone who can get something done, and that's important to have those because you don't have a lot of people in the Smash world who can get things done. Let's just be honest, and he was one of them. Turns out I don't have that much to say about Chillin. I was trying to think of a good story while I was there. I don't know.
No worries if you don't. He's definitely a big supporting character, and I've had a few interview with him, so
Yeah.
no need to
Okay.
into it. But we could talk a little bit about Mango. How it came about, and what your experiences were with him.
Well, when Mango came on the scene, I was already on my way out. I was already a little too old, and I was already not quite good enough, and blah, 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 blah. So when Mango was there, I was able to view it kind of on the outside. I wasn't really on the inside, but he was a hurricane force. And when he beat Mewtwo everyone said that it was a fluke, including myself. I thought, it was the middle of the night, and he was on West Coast time, and let's just Jigglypuff, please, that's not a real character, et cetera, et cetera. And I made a lot of excuses, and then Mango continued to win tournaments, and slowly but surely he garnered my respect as a player, and then he played the game and plays the game. Sure.
That is battery.
So it's very easy to write off Mango as a Jigglypuff because he's just a Jigglypuff and it's cheap and we don't understand. There's not enough Jigglypuffs you can do that to you're blue in the mouth. But then when we started picking up other characters and being just as dominant with them, it really shut people like myself up. I mean, what are you supposed to say when you watch Mango's Captain Falcon or his Falco or his Fox and just think, well, I guess I'm the asshole then. If he can pick up these characters and be just as good as Puff with them. Oh, I was using Puff in the first place, So he showed us that Puff could be great, while at the same time showing us that really he had it in him the whole time as well. I mean, it was flooring, and he was a dynamic force, and he's at one point undisputedly the best in the world, and unfortunately, like too many other players, didn't realize the potential because I think of his own hesitations, whatever those might be. I don't want to say what those are, and of course because he continues to get trashed and he's either drunk while playing or hungover from the night before. And how many times does he lose a tournament and doesn't really get a real placing? And that's so frustrating for a person like me who values placing and ranking and trying and winning so highly. You really can't gauge how good he is because he's not trying hard enough. Now, to me, that tells me that he's not. It makes it difficult to understand how talented he is, but not where he ranks. For me, a person who throws a match, a person who can't show up on time, that detracts from their ability as a competitor. And I will always maintain that. And it bothers me when people say, well, oh, if he'd been trying, if he wasn't hungover. Well, that's not the point. He didn't show up. okay? Or he was hungover. And that's not just with Mango, that's with the people, but he's a classic case of someone who maybe he already proved his prowess and doesn't need to prove it again. More power to him for not being so hung up on himself, and I suppose there's something to be said about that for someone who doesn't need to win every time, whatever the reason may be, but I want to see it. I want to see him bring his A game every time and find out. So I look at placings and see Mango 7th and think, well, that doesn't even matter. It doesn't mean anything to me. Because not only does Mango's placing is not valid, but nobody else's placing is valid. Because who did he let pass him? He messed up a tournament that way, and that's frustrating for me. And so while I'm absolutely in awe of him as a player, it's frustrating to see anybody with talent squander it like that. And I think it's even a little bit of an insult to the community when you enter a tournament and don't try. Those are two more things that I like about Mango. This is a story I heard, don't know if it's true, wasn't there. I don't go to those big West Coast tournaments because I've heard they're crap, and also because I go to tournaments less and less. But the story goes like this. Mango and I have one thing in common probably, and that's that we really, really despise Brawl. And the story goes that he was in a fight with some Brawl kids, and they said, you're not playing Brawl because you can't play it. You're not playing Brawl because you couldn't really handle it if you tried. You're just in Melee. So, okay. Let's go ahead and take care of that. So he entered Brawl and Melee that tournament. In his Brawl tournament, he played until he got into the money, into third place, and then stopped playing. So I'm not playing another match. I proved my point. I won't waste another second on this game, and he burned the winnings. I don't know if it's true, but reportedly he placed third, top 3 at a Brawl tournament, gave up, burned the winnings. Screw you. And I love that. I love it because it's rude and it's bold and it's insulting to Brawl. And to me, that's good. I give him props for that. and I don't care, what atrocities he may have committed. I have to respect Mango for his team's play as well. Mango and Lucky are another contender for best team of all time because not only are they dominant, not only do they win a hell of a lot of tournaments and go a long time without being defeated, but they have great teamwork. Better teamwork than Ken and Isaiah did, that's for sure. I feel some camaraderie there as well because with the Newlyweds, we weren't good enough individually to compete with your Ken and Isaiah, with your Azin and Chu. We just weren't. But I think our teamwork was decidedly better. I think the Newlyweds have better teamwork than Ken and Isaiah, hands down. I think the Newlyweds is greater than the sum of its parts. That kind of thing can't be true. The same thing cannot be said of other people. But Mango and Lucky, I think their sum is greater than their parts. Oh, sorry, say that again. Mango and Lucky, their sum is greater than, how do you say that?
Their
total?
No, I think you were right. Their sum is
greater than the sum of their parts is how it ends.
That's right.
Okay, I'll start again.
Yeah, that's
okay,
right.
great. The thing with Mango and Lucky is their team is greater than the sum of their parts, which I also think is true of the Newlyweds, but not true of Ken and Isaiah. Not true of a lot of these other teams that made it to the top, but their chemistry, their teamwork, their rhythm, their flow is really good, and I have to be impressed by that.
When it comes to like his, because I guess now he's kind of fallen down a bit, and Armada now I guess is arguably the best in the world. In fact, that might be just like that's the truth now. And I know you feel free to say you don't know anything about that at this point, but what do you think about like a player like Armada who has kind of come to replace it more Hungrybox, who like at Apex it was Young Link versus Jigglypuff in a arguably incredibly boring match, but it's something of a different thing, I guess.
I like to see players exploit the game. I like that. I don't ever boo at the game. I think that Melee is so beautiful that you can't make it ugly. I think Melee is so perfect that you can't abuse it to the point where it's not interesting. I think wobbling should be legal. I don't care. It's in the game. Because you know why? If wobbling was too good, Ice Climbers would win every tournament. But they don't, because wobbling isn't that good, so I'm not that worried about it. And if a Young Link and a Jigglypuff want to camp each other for 8 minutes straight, fantastic. Go for it. I actually think it's fascinating to watch the will and the patience of players. That to me is more interesting than perfectly placed wave shines and pillars and reverse bear and whatever else I don't even understand because I'm too old. I get less a kick out of that than I do out of watching the Young Link and the Jigglypuff camp each other. That was a great match between Armada and Hungrybox when Armada put out the Young Link, and they both just two competitors again. They just really wanted to win. That's fantastic. More power to them. I'll sit there and watch it all day. That's great. And really sincere respect for Armada too. Going back to the drawing board and saying, if my Peach can't do it, what can? What else can we do? That's what real champions do. And I do think Armada is a real champion. I think what he's done with Peach is brilliant in its simplicity. He just does everything that's in my head, but does it right. And he does the things I don't know how no one's ever discovered, that he just does it. I don't know why it wasn't doing that in 04. It's so obvious. Drop down, float, neutral air. How was that not discovered before him? But I think he sees the game very clearly. And I think that makes him a very impressive person.
Yeah, it's incredible the way he approaches the game. I think there's we missed. Did we talk about? We didn't talk about FC3, the crew battles.
No, we didn't touch it.
We should.
Let's do that.
There.
Okay.
That was an absolutely electrifying thing.
It was. The FC3 crew battles might be the best thing I've ever experienced in Smash. They very well might be. This is fantastic. I mean, because you have the church and everyone's there. I mean, you have what was pretty much everybody at the time. Again, the Smash community was a bit smaller back at FC3, so it's pretty fair to say everybody was there. All the people, all the Smashers were there. And it was this huge, huge crew battle with all the rivalries that were great. And when it was East Coast versus anyone but West Coast, we squashed them like a bug. I mean, that was fun because we just put in our third string quarterbacks and we went our secondaries. And we had one time we wanted to see how many Falcons we could get in one crew, and we were just that much better than them, which was great. And then you had like your Midwest versus West Coast, which was pretty close. And the church had balconies, so we were lined up on the balcony screaming things down. When Mango tried to switch his character based on who he was going, we all screamed down that he was a cheater, and we called his ass out, and that was great. And we just talked trash and trash, because in a crew battle, it's okay to talk trash. In a crew battle, it's okay to coach. So you got your best, just enthusiastic, just enigmatic, just interesting people all coming together, talking trash to each other, which is fantastic. And we were in the church, and one of my favorite pieces was that Wes standing behind Mike G playing people, and just, it wasn't even screaming, it was just a commentary. Wes would say things like, I saw that coming, why didn't you? And it's like, read him like the Bible, which is a good one. Read him like the Bible, I like that. So the camaraderie was big on one side, and the competition was huge versus the coasts, and Midwest versus West Coast was really great because the East Coast was rooting for Midwest. And we did a lot of screaming. My voice was positively hoarse by the end of that day, which was great. I mean, who knew that was going to happen starting off this Smash thing with playing competitive video games, that it would be not just getting into it, but I mean, screaming like it was a big deal. And I wasn't drunk. I think most people weren't drunk. That was just passion. That was excitement. That was brilliant. And then it was East Coast versus West Coast, and it was incredible. It was incredible for me because I was the captain, but I didn't compete. So I got to feel like I was in a leadership role and a collaborative role, but it wasn't about my Peach, which was good, but not arguably not top 10. There are people I wanted on the team besides me, which was very exciting, making the right picks and going back and forth and everyone getting into a huddle. It was very cool. And when we played against West Coast, it was it started to feel like it was going to be a little bit intense, and then it wasn't. It started to feel like it was intense, and then in the end, it was just we just took him out and won by 6 stock, and it was incredible. And we did our East Coast dance, which is on camera when everyone danced, and that was incredible. And I still have the dollar bill actually signed by all of West Coast, by every member of the West Coast team, Ken and Isaiah and all of them. They signed the dollar bill, and I keep it near and dear in my bedroom. It's one of my most prized possessions.
Do you have it here?
Actually, I do. Do you want me to bring some of that stuff out?
Can I see it?
I have a dollar bill. I have my wife poster. I have my controller. I could bring that stuff out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me do that.
Dude, I want to see this.
You want to do this? Actually,
I don't think they showed this in the doc. Dude, I'm hyped.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Dude. Telly holds it dear to him. I would. Life. Stars. That's pretty cool. I can't hear them, but okay, I was about to say. It's just not on there. The audio is just not right there. I guess it'll be back here. Yep.
Why was your team called Team Ben?
Okay, so when Kevin and I were in high school, we were super close best friends with Ben Basilia was his name. And when we were our senior year of high school, so this would have been January of '03, he was murdered in the middle of everything. And I say that because no one saw coming. This wasn't drug related. It wasn't
Adalna or
domestic dispute.
Adali.
It was just out of the blue. Just one day, someone decided that, if I can't be Ben, no one can be Ben. Only in the same reason that John Lennon's murderer killed him. And so, it's a tragedy of unspeakable proportions, of course, and it really ruled our lives for a while. And this Ben thing, to have him ripped so violently and so suddenly from our lives. So obviously it was on our minds. I mean, not only was it the loss of a friend, but it was also, it dominated everyone in the school knew about it. And we were, Kevin and I, husband and I, were both key witnesses in the murder trial that ensued. So it was always a presence. And we went to our first tournament. The person at the door asked us what crew we were with, and we didn't know that crews existed. It was the first time we'd ever heard of it. And so again, it was without thinking because it was present in all our minds. So we said, "We're Team Ben?" ? And then that was it. And then we were Team Ben. At that point, we had no idea that Smash would have any kind of longevity, that competitive video games would be something by which we would identify. But it ended up being so. And then again, much like more people know me as wife than as Chris Fabizak, Ben's name was known by more people, and Ben's name was on the lips of more people than it ever had been when he was alive. In his death, because he was the non-existent figurehead of our team, and I think we did pretty well as far as promoting ourselves. Team Ben not only did pretty well as far as placings, we were also everywhere. In Smash panel rankings and commentary and road trips and montages. It always had the Team Ben label on it, and because of so, his name got around.
You say it was because he was really good at Smash that he had been targeted, or?
Well, Ben was as good at Smash as the rest of us. I mean, we did play Melee with Ben, absolutely. We played 64 with Ben, we played Melee with Ben all the time. And it was one of those things where, if you could look back now, we were so miserable at the game, but we, did our free-for-alls, and we played with Link and things like that, and we all had a lot of fun with it. There was the Team Ben was never planned. It was an accident, much like wife. The term wife is just kind of stumbled into it, and now that it's here, I'm very proud of it. Now, Oro, husband, and I, we're all still friends. We still refer to ourselves as Team Ben, and when we're not playing Smash, we all took a trip to Europe recently, and I officially titled it Team Ben Goes to Europe, because we'll always be Team Ben, whether playing Smash or not. It's very much forever imprinted on who we are.
Yeah, it's awesome.
What is it about the game, I guess, for you that
Excited to hear
was so, you were kind of coming to the, 12? No.
That clock is way wrong. We're actually doing pretty well. It's only about 9:10.
Oh, perfect. Was there any, in kind of an overarching kind of if you put in the poetic terms of the game, it. You really made a lasting effect on you, the whole experience. And I know you've touched on it a little bit here and there, but if you feel free to put it in more terms.
You want me to wrap up Smash like as a whole?
Yeah.
The whole thing?
The whole thing.
I like how like excited and
I'm
enthusiastic.
gonna wrap up all of Smash. It means so much to me, and I really do think it was important. I really do think it was important. But you're asking me why? Well, it was a chance for us to be somebody. It was a chance for all of us to be somebody, and that was a big deal. It was a chance to be someone different, somewhere different, with different people. And if I were to pick the one reason why Smash was so important to me, over everything else, over the competition, it was broadening my horizons and opening my world. Because it was through Smash that I got to see the country, which is incredible. I got to meet people I never would have met otherwise. I got to learn about myself in a way that I never would have been able to otherwise. Before Smash came along, I'd never been off the coast. I'd been, to New York or whatever a couple of times, down to the beach, but that's it. And then suddenly Smash comes along, and it's Michigan one weekend, Boston the next weekend, Nashville the next weekend, Indianapolis the next weekend. I mean, it didn't stop. It was all the time. It was traveling, and it was finding a piece of me I didn't know existed, and seeing parts of the country I knew nothing about. What an incredible thing it is that that started off as a video game, that if you want to go somewhere, I mean, let's say it's 2008, 2007, 2009, whatever. I want to travel anywhere I want to in the country. I can do it for free because I can stay with my friends all around this country. How else can you say that? What other thing happened to a person that they instantly gained a network of people all around this country? It was a whole other world that didn't exist before I started playing Melee, and now it was there, and it will always be there.
That's awesome.
That's why, yeah. Just another world.
Were there any other stories about Melee that we either haven't gotten to or might be good candidates that you are thinking about? Anything else?
About the game?
Yeah, about Smash or...
Okay, yeah, I'm going to try to do this one. It's sometimes the... Just go to my head real fast sometimes. There is an incredible phenomenon that happened one time. It was sort of a rock, paper, scissors three-way between Azen, Korean DJ, and Mujiking, where one could beat the other and so on, but a winner wasn't clear. And it all goes down to their play styles and their personalities. Mujiking is perfect. He plays the game perfectly. And so when you play the game perfectly against someone who's really, really smart, it doesn't matter. Think about Mujiking versus Azen. Azen makes the right choice. Let's say Azen makes the right choice every time. Then Mujiking, all he has to do is think about what the next step would be to combat the right choice, because he's a computer. Input information, what's the winning combination, done. So Mujiking can beat Azen. Let's say Azen fights Korean DJ. Now, Korean DJ is a ball of white-hot flame, okay? Azen is not fazed by that. Azen is cool as a cucumber. Azen is what it is. He just sees the game. So when Korean DJ goes nuts with all his craziness, Azen can just dash back, F smash, and just sort of take care of him. So Azen can meet Korean DJ. Have a Korean DJ with all his fire, Mujiking can't combat that. Mujiking doesn't know. Those coordinates do not compute. You can't put in Korean DJ what he's going to do. You can't do that because you can't foresee it because he's learning as he goes. So Korean DJ can beat Mujiking. And so it goes in a circle. And that to me is very fascinating. Three very powerful Smash personalities. Each can meet the other in a triangle, like a rock, paper, scissors.
So true.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun. We also had that at GS2. We were trying the Swiss format, which was just crazy for a lot of reasons. And it came down to Mike G, Azen, and Chudat. And we had them play it out. But Mike G could beat Chudat because Peach beats climbers. Chudat could beat Azen because Chudat could beat Azen because he knew how to do that. And Azen could beat Mike G because Azen was better than the two of them, arguably so. And so they went in a circle like that. We had them play it out twice in best of 5 sets, and it came out the same way. And they weren't willing to do it a third time. They finally were just like, we give up. It's a 3-way tie. And we had to all have our payouts be the same. Yeah, that was really funny.
That's too funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a cool arena, I think. Chillin mentioned that there are these things called, like the tool-assisted Smash or whatever it is, where you can like do it frame by frame and have it like almost be a perfect Falcon or a perfect sheet or whatever. And it gave him. He said that it made him just like be in awe that still 10 years down the line, there's this, you can still see the potential for even better, play and even more. What do you think makes a game? What do you think about the phrase "easy to get into, impossible to master"?
I do think that it's impossible to master. I do think that we will never get to the bottom of Smash. I think there is no floor. There's no ceiling, however you want to look at it, but I think that we can keep delving into Smash and learning more and more about it. We're not going to get to the point where we've mastered it. We're not going to get to the point where it's perfect. There is no such thing as perfect. This is a game that is so brilliant that everything is there, can continuously be molded to how the people see fit. And I don't think that we can play for 100 years and we continue to learn new things and play the game a different way as well as better. And that's why I don't understand why people defend Brawl by saying that it can be a party game, because there's plenty of people who play Melee, people I knew in college who just get high and play Smash Melee because it's what they do. They didn't need it to be easier. They didn't need to be dumbed down. It doesn't matter. Beauty is beauty. If you play Puccini for someone who knows nothing about classical music, they're still going to appreciate it. Let's think of it that way, okay? If you take someone who doesn't watch sports, but they're watching Michael Jordan, or otherwise you get the beauty of it. You understand you don't need to be there. If you show, what's a good example? If you show Star Trek to someone whose favorite type of movie is romantic comedies, they're going to love it. The good movie is a good movie. And if someone whose genre is action movies and they say a romantic comedy that's actually just brilliant, it's good. Garden State is good no matter who's watching it. You don't need to be a fan of that genre. It doesn't matter. And that's why Smash, it appeals to everyone. I think everyone can at least appreciate its depth and its orchestration and so many things happening at once in perfect symphony.
Cool.
It's a cool game. I just want to play.
I know. Do you have a copy?
I do. It's like the TV. Yeah, we certainly could.
Cool. Was there anything else you wanted to say about Smash or
Any good little tidbits I missed?
And if you do think of some later, we can do more on a telephone interview or a Skype interview too.
Okay.
To make up for them doing the same thing with Chew and Chillin, because
Chew
as
and
you get on a roll, it's like,
I'll have to
there
rewatch with like headphones or something. My headphones on.
Sure. So much has happened.
Samox is harder to
I
hear.
think we covered all the big
For me,
things, and
like-
we did a lot of talking.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm just a small piece of it, so you should have even if it's a good piece and still a small piece, you should have a lot of information, so
Oh, absolutely.
should be good.
Sweet, man. Sweet.
All right, sweet, cool.
Well, I am more than blown away, and this is more than what I was hoping to get.
Good, I'm glad.
Can I buy you a beer down at the bar? Do you want to?
I deeply disagree with who you think owes whom, but it's rare that I get to go out and just get a beer with a friend. So yeah, let's do that.
Cool.
Yeah, let's do it for that sake.
Let me,
Yeah, let's not do this.
It is over. Well, I'm ending this because, yeah, I gotta go do something. So, thanks for stopping by. If you stopped by, I didn't really talk too much. I was just trying to enjoy it and watch it. So, yeah, have a good day. I don't know if I'll stream again today or not. Probably I might train on 20XX or stream something random. I don't know. Maybe play Slippy. Who knows? But peace out, you guys. Appreciate it.